With the launch of Witch Queen, I imagine there's going to be some new guardians coming into the Crucible. So today I thought I'd make a video on general PvP tips to get you going in the Crucible. Destiny as a game is pretty fast-paced compared to some other shooters out there, and is a very vertical game compared to others, where the high ground plays a bit of a bigger role, and abilities like grenades, melees, and supers also set it apart from other games. So in this video, I'm going to cover 5 topics. If you want to skip around to a particular topic, there will be chapters and timestamps in the description below. These topics I'm about to go over are whole videos in and of themselves, so these are just kind of general overviews on things to look out for in regards to these various categories. The categories are aiming, abilities, map knowledge, map flow, and positioning. So let's start off with aiming. This one largely comes down to practice. If you're brand spanking new to the game, I advise playing PvE first to figure out the game mechanics and how the different gun archetypes feel and what you like best. This also kind of applies to your abilities, learning what they do and how they apply to the game. I advise running some strikes or just general story quests to level your character and unlock your subclasses. Play PvP if you have to for quests or if you really want to. But otherwise, until you get familiar with the guns, the gun archetypes, how your abilities work, you know, what running around in the game feels like in general, I would advise running through basic PvE encounters first, just so you don't get super overwhelmed, because Crucible can move pretty fast. Next, let's talk about abilities. Within Destiny, you have 5 abilities: your grenade, your charged melee, your class ability, your super, and your jump, each of which do different things depending on the class or subclass you pick, so I'm going to give very general advice on each and the role they play. Grenades are generally used to finish off an opponent or zone off an area or doorway. A general rule of thumb is if you have the high ground or the advantage in a situation, shoot first and then throw a grenade if needed to finish off the enemy. If you have the low ground or the disadvantage, lead with a grenade and then shoot to finish them off. For your melee, this one is again very subjective to each class, but generally speaking, your melee is your panic button. I could go into the strategic ways to use your melee, especially if you have the ranged warlock melee, but frankly, if someone gets close, whack them. Your melee does approximately 50% damage to an enemy guardian's health. If you're shotgunning, a general rule of thumb is to melee after you hit with the shotgun in case some of your pellets miss, to finish off that remaining bit of health. Next up is class abilities. For hunters, this is a dodge that lets you weave in and out of encounters easily. Use it if you need to escape an encounter quickly. This is a defensive option first and foremost. There is an offensive way to use it, but it takes a lot of practice to learn, so learn the defensive application of it first. For warlocks, your rift is good for holding positions down primarily, but don't cast it mid-fight unless you're sure you have the time to cast it. The animation to cast your rift takes valuable seconds that you could use to reposition or flee depending how low your health is. And you're kind of a sitting duck while the animation plays out. The best time to use it is to prep for a fight when you know the enemy is coming, or to heal quickly after an encounter. For Titans, your shield is primarily a position holding and zoning tool. It's great for blocking off doorways and holding positions in general because it greatly damages enemies as they pass through it, if they pass through it. It's essentially a mobile cover. I often use it to peek sniper lanes or hold corners or even set up ambushes. If you can make space, it's also great to cast behind you as you're running away, to delay an attacker chasing you. Just keep in mind that people can and will jump over it, especially hunters who love to jump around. For your supers, these kind of fall into 3 different categories: roaming supers, shutdown supers, and utility supers. Shutdown supers are things like Nova Bomb, Chaos Reach, Golden Gun, or Thunder Crash, and they're good for ending other supers or getting group kills if the enemy is grouped up. Roaming supers are things like Dawn Blade or Arc Staff, supers where you're like running around, smashing stuff around you, or you're in the super for a while, and you get to move around the map and destroy things and blow people up. These are used to put pressure on the enemy. They're good for chaining kills in 6v6 and kind of really upping your kill count, or making coordinated pushes with your team in 3v3. Utility supers are things like Titan Bubble or Well of Radiance. Shadow Shot kind of flows between this and shutdown supers, depending if you can, you know how to use it correctly. Since Shadow Shot is primarily used just for shutting down enemy supers, at least that's the purpose of it. But Titan Bubble and Well of Radiance don't really have much of a place in PvP, at least meta-wise, but you can use them for some good fun in 6v6, or just kind of in general find some unique ways to use them in 6v6 or 3v3 game modes. There are ways to use them successfully for sure, because I've seen it, but they rely more on player creativity than just general raw power or damage output, so I'm going to kind of leave that up to you, the viewer, to figure out. Your last class ability is your jump. This is your main mobility tool and way of getting around the map. For transitioning positions and not fighting, jump constantly. Honestly, even if you're fighting, kind of jump constantly. It'll help you move faster and make your movement unpredictable in gunfights. It's great for ducking in and out of encounters or making aggressive pushes, distancing yourself from the enemy, or getting yourself closer to them depending on your playstyle. Next broad topic is map knowledge. This is another one that comes down to practice. I advise if you really want to deeply learn the PvP maps or flow of PvP, just play PvP. Or if you're a big brain boy or girl, load into a private match and run around and explore. Find unique angles, learn callouts, and really just learn the maps. This is one of those that just takes time and you kind of plan the game. So it's kind of a passive XP kind of thing. The next one, which is kind of a subcategory of map knowledge, is map flow. And map flow kind of differs greatly between 6v6 and 3v3 game modes. In 6v6 or controller clash, assuming you're playing solo, the matches will generally flow in a cyclic pattern as you move from one capture point to the next with your team. In the case of control, or in the case of clash, you and your team kind of meet in the middle and duke it out with the enemy team for kills. The reason why I say playing solo is if you're playing control with a group, like a full 6-man, holding positions is a lot better to get a decisive win than kind of just running around the map in a circle, trading capture points with the enemy. For 3v3 game modes such as elimination or survival, these are much more about team play and small squad-based movements like coordinated flanks, where your individual positioning and skill level will play a larger role. So once you're comfortable with 6v6 game modes, then I would suggest trying out 3v3. Kind of lying in between 6v6 and 3v3 is Rumble. This is kind of, in my opinion, a bit of your practice arena. And this is the game mode where a lot of the player base that's better at PvP plays, at least, for the most part, obviously varies. But if you want to really improve at your aim abilities and positioning, I suggest playing Rumble because it'll let you focus on 1v1 encounters and kind of slow the game down without getting overwhelmed by the many people that can rush at you in 6v6 or the team coordination of 3v3. It kind of helps improve your individual skill. It'll be very difficult in the beginning, most likely, but this is how I practice starting out. And it's a bit of a grind, but that's how you get good. And remember, at least in Rumble or in really any game mode, the goal is not to get the most kills, but to improve each game. And it's much more important to end at a second place with a 2.0 KD than to win at a 0.5. Survivability and staying alive greatly trumps playing like an idiot and running around like a chicken with your head cut off, even if you're getting a lot of kills, because in 3v3 game modes like elimination and survival, your team lives are limited and your team is counting on you to stay alive. The last topic is positioning. This is a big, broad, and probably the most important topic. And the hardest one to improve at. This is your mental game, and you can really work on this endlessly. There is no limit to how good you can get at it. If you can position well, you can decimate your enemies, even if they have better reaction speed and aim. This is all about picking unexpected angles, ducking in and out of cover, and knowing when to run or when to stay in a fight. This is one where I'm going to, again, take the cop-out answer of practice. Pay attention to how you're playing. A good thing to do, even if you have the ability, is to record your gameplay and watch it back and kind of find out why you're getting killed. But some general rules of thumb with positioning are high ground is greater than low ground, dodge in and out of cover. If you're weak or unsure of a situation, back off and reposition. If you have your team with you, you can probably push. It's always better to live and fight another day than to die fighting a losing battle. I hope this video helped you out. If it did, a like and subscribe would be appreciated. And if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. I've been playing Destiny since the Destiny 1 beta, so I know this game pretty well, to say the least. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good one.